Hello, everybody. Welcome to National Teams Ball in Action here on International Ball. Today, I have the great privilege and honor hosting a good long-time friend, legend of German basketball coach.
Oh, Tom, relax. Jeez.
Coach, thank you so much for doing this. Everybody, Coach Dirk just finished the game playing, coaching in national team with Tunisia. So thanks for doing this on such a short notice. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Tom. You're an old and great friend, and thank you for having me.
It's always my privilege, Coach. We are talking, Olympics. I'm sure you've been following it, in depth. Doing this pregame show for Iran versus France, which is going to be, I think, in a few hours on a different time zone here in Japan. You coached, Iran between 2015 to 2017. You won multiple championships there at the Asian Conference. Just I guess watching the teams or keeping in touch. How do you like their progress? How are they doing?
Well, I coached one of the national team players of Iran last season in Germany, Behnam Yakhali, and so I still have very close ties with the country. Meran Shahintap, who was my assistant and who is now the head coach, is a really good friend, and we text on a regular basis. I know most of the players, so yeah, I'm obviously pulling for them. I thought they played really well against the Czech Republic. Against the Americans, we all knew that they would respond after the loss to France, and they played extremely well. So that was a very difficult game, but the result really is not that important. And now I think they're ready to play a good game against France, a team that is loaded with not just NBA talent, but also EuroLeague talent in, for example, the Colo. And so that's going to be a very difficult game as well.
Of course, this is you're talking about the best 12 teams in the world. You got some teams heavy loaded with the NBA rosters and EuroLeague rosters like France. Some teams like the U.S. that they just played and lost. How do you, from an Iranian perspective, how do you prepare for a tournament like this? How do you maximize the usage of resources, if any, to position to perform, to perform well, if possible?
Yeah, well, from all I know is they started really early with their preparation, which is super important, because the only way to win at that level, especially if you play against superior talent, is that you must just be the better team. You don't have to win, or you can win games if you don't have superior talent, if you play a true team game on both ends of the floor. And that's the key. And the only way to get to that point is to practice and practice and practice some more until you are very good in terms of the execution of your schemes and your plays and your reads and so on and so forth. That's the key, and that's what Meran did. They started very early, and hopefully tonight we will see that they are a true team, and that they, even against such a talented and well-coached team like France, can execute at a high level and give themselves a chance to win by staying close, never giving up. And if they do that, with Haddadi in the middle and the weapons that they have on the perimeter, who knows? Maybe they have a chance, even though France, of course, is the favorite.
In terms of matchup, how do you match up against such a such a superpower in basketball like France. I mean, you have one aging Haddadi, and you got an aging Samat Bahrami. You got Jamshidi, who has shown flashes of brilliance considering the conditions he's playing in. And then, of course, you got the two naturalized players like Aaron Garamiput, the 7-footer from England, and Mike Rostamper of US. And the combination of the player that played for you, Behnam Yakhchali, at the Pro A League in Germany.
Yeah. Well, like I said, individually, it's really difficult to match up against such a talented team like France. What you have to do is you just have to be the better team. Execute your schemes with more discipline. Make the extra pass. Find the open guy. Do not turn the ball over, because if they get out in the open court with the athleticism that they have, it's very difficult. And you have to be great on the defensive end of the floor, because we all know that defense is the great equalizer. And, if you don't make it very difficult for them to score, if you don't make them feel you, if you don't make them uncomfortable, and you just let them play their game, then it's impossible to beat them.
What would France do in a situation like this, playing a lower caliber team like Iran? How do they strategize, if they strategize?
Well, I think they're going to try to play their game, which means they're going to try to play an up-tempo game, use their superior athleticism. They're going to funnel everything into Rudy Gobert, who is probably the best defender in the world, who can make your life so difficult, because even if he doesn't block your shot, he's there. And that makes such a huge difference. It really plays with your confidence. And so if you have a defensive anchor like France does in Gobert, it makes it very difficult to attack the rim. And then add to that the fact that they have great length on the perimeter and that they're all willing defenders. So it's not going to be easy to get open shots, 3-point shots especially, either. So how do you score against these people? Well, the only way to score is to execute at a high level and to try to get stops yourself. And, Iran has Haddadi, who the last 10 years was clearly the most dominant big guy in Asia. And so it's going to be interesting how these two defensive monsters match up against one another, Gobert and Haddadi. I think that's one thing that I'm looking forward to watching, is how these two match up. And Haddadi is obviously not as mobile anymore as Gobert is. Probably doesn't have quite the length, but he is a great passer, and he has an extremely, extremely high basketball IQ. So that's the one matchup that I'm looking forward to watching.
Now, stepping out of the game, sort of looking at this from outside in, from your perspective, what does Behnam Yakhchali came out and played. Perhaps more Iranians playing, in Europe, maybe a solution in part in terms of the growth and development of competitive basketball in Iran. What other elements or key elements for development? And is it being executed that to be able to achieve the excellence that they need to be as part of the to play at a world stage level like this?
Well, it always starts with your recruiting process. You have to find young players that, if you work with them and they get the right coaching and mentoring, have a chance to be a factor at the highest level. And you have to have a certain amount of talent, basketball talent, athleticism, a feel for the game, a work ethic in order to get there. And you have to find those players. It doesn't matter how good the schemes are. It doesn't matter how good your plays are. It doesn't matter how creative you are as a coach. You have to have talent on your roster. They say talent wins. I think that's an exaggeration because clearly, when you watch the Americans play against France, talent is not everything. But it is a very, very important foundation. And so I think the number one step is always recruiting and finding players that not only have the talent, but also have the athleticism and the work ethic and the feel for the game to become good ones or maybe even great ones. And then you have to have a system in place of coaching and mentoring that makes sure that you get the most out of these young players, that you develop them the right way, that you teach them the skill set that they need to play the game of basketball successfully. So that's the second thing. And then you have to find ways so that they can compete at the highest level, which means you have to regularly go to tournaments in Europe or the States or wherever, so they develop that competitive toughness that is so important in order to win at the highest level.
Of course, during the time that you spent, you traveled across the country to all the basketball places to recruit some of the talent. Uh, how do you? What was your opinion at the time when you traveled throughout your travels in Iran and recruiting and evaluating talent? Uh, you see any of the new names that you may have been you set your eyes on that may have been able to make the national team this
Well,
time? Or
well, I mean, some of the kids, I was also involved in working with the under 16 and the under 18 team. The under 18 team won the Asian Championships. And some of the players that played for either the under 16 or the under 18 national team, they now play at the highest level in Iran. And some of them have become national team players. And so I'm really happy to see that. Really happy to see them grow and now become part of the national team or become part of the champion Gorgon. So so that makes you feel good, and I'm very happy for those kids. But that's the key, you have to find the right players, and then you have to work with them, and you need good, if not great, coaches to do that. If the players don't get the right guidance and they don't get good coaching, then they will never develop to the point where they can actually become national team players. And Iran has a lot of very well educated coaches that love the game of basketball, that study the game of basketball. And that's just a key foundation.
Brilliant. Hold that thought. I want to come back and talk to you about your current situation out there in Tunisia right after I drop this our website address here. Once more. Excellent. So, Coach, I understand you just played a game. You literally came out of the game. Who were you playing against, and how did it go?
Well, Tunisia is the defending African champion, and we play Afrobasket uh, at the end of August in Kigali, which is in Rwanda. And leading up to this tournament, we are now in Jordan, a wonderfully, very professionally organized tournament here in Amman. That was our fourth game in 4 days. We played against Egypt. Some of our key players, like Michael Roll or Salah Mehri, are not here yet. We brought a lot of younger guys. But they grow and they play better each and every day. They develop at a rate that sometimes surprises me. And luckily we won tonight. Played really well against Egypt. So yeah, it was a good day for Tunisian basketball, even though this is only an exhibition tournament.
Of course, in our previous conversation, you always said you wanted to go to Africa, and so you did. Now you're established going on most of the continents, I think. What's next for Dirk Bauerman?
Oh well, Tom. In our business, you don't look too far ahead. The only thing that you do is you focus on the job at hand, and and that's what I'm trying to do. I've coached this game for a long time, and I was fortunate enough to win some championships and coached in the Olympics and the World Cup and the Eurobasket and so on and so forth. And I'm trying to share that knowledge and that experience with my players and the coaches in the country, and that's what I'm doing. I don't think too far ahead. Right now, obviously, our goal is to repeat as champions of Africa, which is going to be very difficult. The competition is extremely, extremely good. Nigeria, Senegal, Egypt, and so on and so forth, Angola, um, Mali. So a lot of really, really good teams. African basketball is constantly getting better, especially because the NBA is so heavily involved now in African basketball, and so I think it's probably the continent with the most potential, and I think that's why the NBA is investing a lot of money and resources to help African basketball grow. So yeah, I mean that's big picture, but right now, I just focus on getting this team ready to play and hopefully, like I said, repeating as champions of Africa.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for doing this with me and taking time out of your busy schedule and squeezing me in there in the last moment. So thanks again. And
thank you, Tom. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Take care. Bye.